will be joining in via the phone line to give in-depth analysis to the stories that we're going to be treating this morning. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so please do well to join the live streaming. You can drop your comments even whilst the show is going on. We'll take it, of course, in the course of the show. At Mainland 98.3 FM, that's the handle. Join us social. Of course, every Monday, it is our tradition here at Mainland FM. Before we go into the major stories trending for today, the 15th of January, we try to bring you up to speed as regards the major stories that trended from over the weekend. That is Saturday and Sunday, 13th and 14th January 2023. So I have the major stories here. I'll start with Saturday. The major stories that trended, we have Tinubu sets up special presidential panel to audit NSIPA. And that was taken from Tribune, Nigeria Tribune. We also have insecurity. Will protect Nigerians' interests, Nigerians' rights, regardless of religious affiliations and ethnic origin. And that's coming from Vice President Shettima, and it was called from Premium Times. Dangote commends Tinubu, Nigerians, as his $20 billion petroleum begins production. Yes, that was also a hot topic on Saturday, back and forth that we've been having for about to Lagos. Yemi Cardoso is the current CBN governor and moves to return some CBN departments to Lagos. That's taken from Vanguard. We also have like Kano, Apex Court restores election victory of Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State. That was taken from this day. Well, Saturday was agog with election tribunal announcements, judges bringing out a lot of pronouncements. It was quite an interesting run. If you joined us on Political Roundtable yesterday, of course, you'll be able to have full details of that. But if you did not, the recorded program is still up on our YouTube platform. Also, we have here Anambra Labour Party governorship candidate still missing after 845 days. That's a very unfortunate one, and it's on Premium Times. Kanu, NNPP offers olive branch to APC. That was taken from The Sun. And finally, for Saturday stories, Supreme Court reverses the sack of Caleb Mutfwang as Plateau governor. Interesting things happening in Plateau State. Very, very interesting things. Well, that was taken from this day. Now, for Sunday, the major stories: EFCC revives 13 ex-governors' 772 billion fraud cases. That was taken from The Punch. Nigeria 1-1 Equatorial Guinea. Wasteful Super Eagles begins AFCON 2023 with a disappointing draw, and that was taken from The Guardian. Atiku is aware of my relationship with Tinubu. That's coming from Daniel Bwala. And we also have cash scarcity. Nigerians groan as banks, POS operators trade blame. Are we still having cash scarcity though? That's another conversation for another day. I'll take it from The Guardian. Supreme Court verdict and the injustice to Plateau PDP legislators. Still on Plateau State, and that was taken from this day. Educate. Anyone found guilty won't be spared, says presidency. That was taken from Vanguard. 2027, your planned coalition dead on arrival, APC tells Tinubu, and that was taken from Nigerian Tribune. Najiba sisters, kidnappers dump body of 4 abductees in Abuja. Finally, we have here 45 passengers kidnapped as gunmen attack transporters along Otukpo Enugu Road, and that was taken from Vanguard. And all of this was compiled by Kelvin Nwafili. So those were the major stories that trended from over the weekend. And now let's move on to the stories that are trending for this morning. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM, and you are on to Trends in the Papers. Thank you for staying with us. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM. The Morning Express continues with Trends in the Papers. Let's bring our analyst online. Good morning, Fuhad. How are you doing?
Good morning, Sandra. I'm good. How are you doing too?
I'm well. How's the weekend? I know you were at the party, but I will not tell anybody.
It was fantastic. It was great.
All right, then. Let's get on with it. There's a lot to talk about. I'll start with the Guardian newspaper. The major headline on the front page of the Guardian: Southwest states, 10 trillion naira legacy industries rot away amid low earnings and unemployment. And that story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. So, reckless abandonment of legacy companies of yesteryears may have worsened the general high unemployment rate and dwindling revenue in 5 southeast states. Of course, we know the 5 states that comprises the southeast: Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo. And now they not only have their lots among the low revenue earning states nationwide, but they also account for some of the highest ratio of unemployed youth per population. And then some states out of these 5 are still battling the Monday sit-at-home situation. So how successive governors have abandoned Michael Okpara's legacy and establishments, and how these states cumulatively earn 1/5. All 5 states in the southeast earn 1/5 of Lagos' yearly turnover. Well, and all this is being attributed, of course, to the fact that there seems to be some abandonment of legacy companies. Fuhad, we've been talking about the fact that, multinationals are leaving the country. Organizations are finding it really hard. The economic environment, or the economic atmosphere of the country, is making it even more difficult for companies to carry out their business operations. But now it's becoming a serious problem here in especially in the southeast. What are your thoughts?
Well, again, I think the Guardian newspaper has just decided to focus on the southeast. Well, I think it's a general problem. It's not a problem that is predominantly,
in the southeast.
I think it's generally it affects almost all parts of the country. But again, of course, the report just decided to concentrate on that part of the country to highlight the challenges of running businesses and all of that. But when it comes to legacy projects, I was thinking more of, attempts by state governments to run businesses. I don't know whether it's well captured in that particular report.
We're talking about, company, not government-owned enterprises here now.
Yeah.
We're talking about, say, for example, Golden Guinea breweries in Umuahia, ceramics industry in Umuahia, Hotel Presidential, that's hotels in Aba, Niger Steel, Niger Gas, Premier Cashew Industry, Eastern Plastics. Yes, we have some, government-owned enterprises, but also some other
talking of legacy companies that have been there for years, we've known with that particular region.
Thank you. Yeah. So premier companies that have supposed to have are supposedly built to last, but are not.
Well, again, we've talked about multinationals. Now we're talking about legacy companies that are also struggling, and some of them have actually shut down completely. And it's not, like I said, it's not just to the southeast. Even in the north central, people will tell you about some legacy projects, even in states like Kogi, Niger State, even in our southwestern states. We have a lot of legacy projects or companies that are also,
looking at it from this angle, all right? The fact that, successive administrations over the past few years, especially in the southeast, have not taken so much cognizance of, the potentials that these legacy companies have, because majority of these legacy companies are in the southeast. That's why the focus is on the southeast.
It's on the southeast.
Yeah, that's right. So they're looking at the fact that, there has been some sort of nonchalant disposition of successive administrations. That past governors have not really paid attention to these legacy companies.
Well, it's unfortunate. Again, you look at, I think for some of these governors, pastor, you want to ask, is that even their priority? Are they looking in that direction when it comes to appropriations, procurement, and even how to raise revenue in their different states? I don't think they consider some of these things as a priority, and that's why the focus is completely lacking to revitalizing some of these legacy companies, or even finding a way to make them run effectively. A lot of people would argue that, again, if you look at the debt burden in some of these states, you look at some of the borrowings that they've done, the fact that, look, at the end of the day, apart from FAC allocation, revenue has dwindled completely, and so they are not even able to do tangible things other than maybe struggle to pay salaries, do one or two projects and all of that. There's really nothing happening at the state level, especially even in the southeast. Look at a state like Abia, for example. You know, if there's a state that is not is regarded as one of the worst run states in the country, people will argue that it's Abia State. Even the Enugu State in recent times didn't have the best of governance under one of the governors in the G5. You understand what I'm saying, Samuel? So it is what it is. Again, the Guardian newspaper doing what they've constantly done in the last few years. To focus on critical issues of governance, the economy, politics, and the fact that look, we are not even in a good place to start with.
All right, then, Fuhad, what would be your own? What would be your own? Is it counsel? I'll say now to the 5 states or the 5 governors in those states, because they're the ones who are running the administration of the state. Because in comparison, not trying to compare, but I mean in vast comparison, the revenue profile of 5 states compared to just Lagos State alone. Of course, yes, we know that Lagos is the economic capital of Nigeria, but then Lagos State realized about 651 billion in earnings in 2022. But if you put the total of the 5 southeast states together, all 5 generated a paltry 114 billion naira. So what would be your counsel now to these southeastern states or southeastern governors, the current ones that are in that are currently in government right at this time? What would be your counsel to them? Because it's something that needs to be looked into. Aside from, let's take for instance, or say for example, presidential hotel in Port Harcourt. The governments of Rivers and Bayelsa have continued to run and maintain the presidential hotel in Port Harcourt and taking it to an international standard with over 500 people in employment. But the one in Enugu was built around the same time. It has become obsolete. It's a 4-floor 100-room edifice that's located inside Enugu, and it's almost a carcass of block works remaining as it is. It's just a block that just shows the identity of the hotel, that this thing still stands, or it used to be here. And as it is now, it has provided some sort of haven for criminal elements and notorious activities in that particular state. Okay, so you have other states are trying to carry on legacies of classic edifices that have been built in that state. Yeah, see, it's not just Southeast. I have a personal problem with Lagos State as well, for example. But I've made to understand that some of the major edifices that we have in Lagos are actually federal projects. But then, is there not thing that the states can put in, say for example, the National Theatre, in Igomo, and all of this other legacy buildings? So yes, as you have highlighted, but then, so what can the governors do, or what would be your counsel to the governors to bring these legacy companies out? Can they be revived, or are we just going to leave it like that and move on to other things? Because what, it's not that there's no money. A state just built a worship center of over $1 billion. So let's have that conversation. Is it the governors or the people?
I think the best thing they can do with most of these projects, companies, and entities would be to either privatize them completely.
Okay.
In privatization, you just sell it off. Sell it off. Raise money and then into more sustainable things. Maybe to build schools, build health centers, build hospitals, things that can benefit the people. But my fear with government entities or projects of this nature is that we're not sure of accountability and understand, and judicious use of the money when they come in. But honestly, instead of struggling to continue to run these businesses to the extent that they are just a shadow of its old self, I think the best thing would either to sell it off completely or concession it. Concession it, let investors come in, operate, and then of course the government can own a percentage of those businesses. But to continue to hold on to them and continue to put forth this money, thinking that they can get these businesses back to life, I think it's not going to work. We have a lot of experiments like that. We've had several attempts like that. It's not only in the South, like I said. You mentioned even the National Art Theatre Even look at our national stadium here in Lagos. You know, it's a shadow of its old self. It's dilapidated. It's not well maintained. So I think the best thing to do is either to completely privatize some of these entities, or maybe concession them. You know, get private people to come in, and then maybe the government can own a percentage. You know, a larger percentage goes to the private sector.
All right, thank you very much, Fuad. While these establishments in other parts of the country are revenue earners, employment creators, and all of that, and they have continued to impact development in this state. Of course, just as we highlighted, the presidential hotel in Rivers State in Port Harcourt is a major employment creator and also a revenue generator for Rivers State. But unfortunately, the same presidential hotel in Enugu has become obsolete. So the essence of these investments, if only they can be tapped into, could actually bring a huge difference to the entire southeast region. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. 10 trillion naira legacy industries rot away amid low earnings and unemployment. And as well, all the 5 governors are highlighted on the front page there, just in case. Moving on from that story, we have here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, I spent 500 million naira defending my election, says Abia federal lawmaker. What do you spend it on? Is it on the lawyers or gathering evidence? Or what do you think, Fad?
It would have to be lawyers and probably putting evidence together.
500 million naira.
But is it his personal money or from the state coffers?
Oh, we are not concerned about that amount of money. What's happening there? Yeah,
you know, there was this conversation on Lagos State too, where a procurement document showed some monies were paid to lawyers to defend the election of 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Sanwo-Olu and his deputy, but it was debunked. But again, it would have been nice to ask the governor of Abia State if the money were from his personal pocket, it was from his pocket, or he was. I'm sure he's going to deny that it was from the state coffers.
Okay.
It's just to tell you sometimes how expensive really it is to defend this election. So it means that our politicians spend heavily to run elections, campaign, you know, do all manner of things, and then after elections they have to be in court spending huge amount of money. That's ₦500 billion, you know, to defend his mandate.
All right, then what we have here is House of Reps member for Isikwuato Umuonochi constituency in Abia State, Amobi Godwin Oga, has disclosed that he incurred about 500 million naira defending multiple cases filed by his opponents against his election.
Okay, the Reps member, not the governor.
No. As Abia federal lawmakers stated that earlier on. So Oga, who is of the Labour Party, contested the election against Nkiruka Onyejocha of the All Progressives Congress, who is now Minister of State for Labour and Employment. We also have Lovett Ofegbu of the People's Democratic Party, who was also contesting for that particular seat for the 5th time, and other parties and their candidates. So he spoke during a Thanksgiving meeting with his constituents in his country home, where he distributed various items and all of that. But the focus here is the fact that he spent 500 million naira ensuring that, you know...
If a Reps member is spending 500 million naira, so how much went into the entire election, Sandra?
Oh, thank you so much. You know, that was where I was going. You know, I said, looking away from the fact that I wanted to ask, how much is form? How much was campaign materials? How much did you use to campaign? How much, you know, was spent to say thank you for people that campaign? There are so many things that we can actually look into this for. If just to defend.
So what's going to happen now as a Reps member if you are spending 500 million defending his election? So where is he going to get the money back?
It's service to the people.
So that's why if you now question why they are getting SUVs of 160 million, they will just laugh at you. You know how much I spent defending my election?
Oh.
You understand, Sandra?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because if you spend 500 million as a Reps member trying to defend, you know, your election, if it's that expensive, unless it's just you know, trying to, you know, be too, unless it's being economical with the truth, you know, 500 million is huge, you know, for a Reps member to use to defend his elections. I don't know how much lawyers collect from them. I think the last we saw Like Lagos State, for example, we saw that 2 law firms were paid, I think, 50 million naira each. Sandra. So, and that's at governorship level, less, well, it was a part payment. But if you are spending 500 million as a reps member to defend your election, so you have to find a way to get the money back.
It's a serious, cause for concern.
So if we continue to question, for example, I think in the papers is Serap is saying the assembly should look at the budget again and bring it down.
Yes.
They will not listen if they are spending 500 million to defend their election.
Well, the story is on page 8. That's Abia federal lawmaker saying that he spent 500 million to defend his election, not to campaign or not to buy form, not to defend. Okay, yes, I won this election fair and
Sandra, what
square.
happens to spending limits in the law?
Maybe it doesn't apply to post-election
to
post-election issues.
Okay,
Maybe.
to post-election matters.
Maybe it doesn't apply. I'm just asking. I don't know. But
does anybody even pay attention to spending limits to start with?
Well, we called our umpire. They're supposed to monitor.
Nobody know. How do you even monitor spending limits? How do you monitor if any politician has spent above the spending limit that's captured in the electoral act?
I asked that question some time ago. I think it was last year. I asked if that thing is really realistic. When you say 5 billion for presidential, so if you say 5 billion or 2 billion or so for presidential, so how do you know that this person has not exceeded 5 billion naira? Like, who goes around doing monitoring? Who keeps the accounts? Who checks the accounts? All of these things. But that was one of the things that brought out. That was one of the things that brought out those people that were receiving ghost money in their account. That they said they don't know who sent the money to their accounts.
They didn't know how the money got there. In countries where spending limits are taken seriously, as a politician, you can't even finance your own election with your personal money. You have to raise money from the electorate and donors. So at that level, they know what has been donated into your campaign, and so they can monitor. You understand what I'm saying, Sandra? So it's not as if, you have some money somewhere and then you just begin to put monies into elections and all of that. They are able to know because a lot of the monies you spend on your elections are donated to you. You have to raise them from the electorate, from donors, from pressure groups and all of that. So they know how much you are spending. You can't even lie about it. But here, people run elections with their personal money or borrowed money sometimes. President Muhammadu Buhari at his time told us that he had to approach a bank to borrow some money. You remember? And there are people who also, friends, associates who just give huge sums of money. Some of them are even investors. They give you money when you win. You have to find a way to compensate them with contracts, projects, and all manner of things. So all of those things engender corruption. And I think when it comes to electoral reform, you also have to look at that aspect of our electioneering process.
Election funding. These are the issues. Thank you very much, Fuhad. The story is on page 8. Moving on now to 2027 polls. No consensus yet on candidate as PDP, Labour Party, NNPP's merger talks thickens. And that is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. One would think that with the body language of the presidential candidates of the PDP in Dubai, with 𝗪𝗻 having the time of their lives and all of that, I thought they had jettisoned this merger talks, but apparently it's still in the works. So Fuhad, what we have now is that we have writers here. Utomi saying Atiku, Obi, Kwakwanso have agreed to work in alliance. Don't contest 2027 presidential poll. PDP group advises Atiku. Your planned coalition dead on arrival. APC group tells Atiku. And we have here also Akonde. Returning PDP to power will cause more suffering. So here lies the issue. So with post-election issues being addressed at the Supreme Court, politicians accepting their fate, calculations are already ongoing ahead of the 2027 general elections, 3 years away. I think that there's a quote that says that politicians are always planning for the next election right from the day an election result is announced. So what we have now is that the major gladiators, most especially the presidential candidates of the PDP, the Labour Party, New Nigeria People's Party, are planning to form a formidable party that will sack the ruling APC. And this is just what we have here in this particular story. And that's coming from Pat Utomi. All right, so whether or not this is going to be a major game changer for us in 2027, time will tell. But then let's have a conversation around whether we should expect something big from this particular coalition. Is there something we should expect? Is there something that's going to change the course of the political scene in Nigeria come 2027? According to Professor Pat Utomi, the proposed new political party is not conceived to actualize the presidential ambition of any of the candidates, but it is about Nigeria and the ordinary people on the street. Are we sure we can trust these politicians to actually come together to look for the interest of Nigeria or their own personal interest? What says you, Fuhad?
Well, let us even first leave the interest of Nigerians. Can they even trust themselves to work together? Let's start with that. You know, it was the interest of Nigerians for me, second to an average politician in Nigeria. But let us even look at what is supposed to be their primary interest, which is coming together, working as a team to wrestle power from the APC in 2027. It's unfortunate that as early as this, we're already talking about the 2027 elections. But that's the way we do it here, Sandra. We shouldn't deceive ourselves. The reality is that the mind of an average politician, after one election, they're already thinking about the next. But on this issue of coalition, people coming together, consensus, you know, one of our callers yesterday on 𝗪𝗏 said that, look, there's a problem with Atiku talking about leading the coalition.
Thank you.
The reality is that, look, he's looking at himself.
Okay.
Whatever arrangement he's thinking of now, whatever strategy is coming up with, whatever
he's at the forefront.
Or overture is making to the other side, it's about himself. And that, okay, let us say, for example, the coalition gets to the point where Atiku sits down with Mr. Peter Obi, sits down with Rabiu Kwankwanso, and others, that if they decide that, look, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, you are going to be 80, 81 at that time, you are too old, or they give him reasons for him not to run, would he be ready to support any other candidate? But himself. You don't understand what I'm saying, Sandra? That with the way he's talking, if eventually all of the calculations are put on the table on this coalition, and they say that, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, now you have to be selfless, you have to be the leader of this coalition, but don't be on the ballot as a presidential candidate. Would he ascribe or subscribe to that kind of suggestion or decision? So, I don't know. Because again, the PDP is saying that, look, it's not possible for them as a party to wrestle power from the APC, and that they need a coalition. But the problem of the coalition that I'm already seeing is the ability to be able to drop their own personal ambitions and work together to wrestle power. It's going to be the biggest challenge they would have. Would Rabiu Kwankwanso, for example, drop his own ambition for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? With Mr. Peter Obi, with the momentum behind him in the last election, drop his own ambition too for Alhaji Atiku Abubakar? And would Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also drop his own lifelong ambition? Permit me to use that word. This is a man that has been running from 1993 to support any other candidate, even if that's the most reasonable to be at that time. So we'll just have to wait to see if this coalition thing is going to materialize into anything meaningful. But if you ask me, I doubt it's going to happen. I really doubt it's going to happen.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuhad. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Is this a coalition that we should look forward to? Is this a game changer for the 2027 general elections? Time will tell. But then, I mean, with recent happenings in the PDP...
That was another thing, Sandra, we said on political answers yesterday.
Yes.
If you are calling people to come and join hands with you, they want to see that you are stable. You can't be telling people to come and join you when they are seeing that your house is in complete disarray. You know, I would have thought that the first mission of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as the leader of the PDP now is how to bring everybody together, reorganize that party, get the party solid again as the most viable opposition political party in Nigeria. And so when people begin to see that stability within the PDP, don't be surprised that some other political parties or politicians will collapse their structure to join the PDP. But how do you want to join a party that is completely disorganized, is in a complete disarray? Even if currently, Sandra, one would think that with the recent judgment of the Supreme Court, that should ordinarily strengthen the PDP, because they now have more governors, to work with. Governors, whether you like it or not, are members of the party that are able to finance the party, give it some form of solid footing and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not looking like that. There are governors in the PDP now, currently, Sandra, that if you ask me, I'm not even sure in flesh, blood, and spirit they belong to the PDP.
Oh, well.
Would you say 𝗪𝗪 is a member of the PDP now? Even Bala Mohammed from 𝗪𝗪cie State, his recent comments have not shown that he's completely committed to the PDP. Even the governor of Plateau State, if you see his recent comments, his recent body language, he's a man that is just in the PDP because that's the platform that brought him in. And then look at the South. Myself and you and I struggle to even remember the name of the Delta State governor. Abi? So who are the governors? Who are the leaders of the party that you can look to and say, okay, yes, we can actually go into this battle in 2027 and bring something out of it. So if instead of Atiku and talking about coalition, the big job that he needs to focus on is how to reorganize the PDP and strengthen it and get it back as a solid party that we have always known it to be.
All right. Thank you very much. For the stories on page 6. No consensus yet on candidates as PDP, Labour Party, NNPP's merger talk thickens. Finally, from the front page of the Guardian newspaper, Serap asks Akpabio and Abbas to slash self-serving 344 billion naira national budget.
When they are spending 500 million to do court case, they will not slash anything.
But see, 500 million is very okay. It's very, very okay. Is that 3 billion naira that they want to spend on car park? That is a serious issue for me.
That's what I'm saying. Sandra, I think the entire budget for the National Assembly, the highest ever, is coming from this particular budget. And it's about 340 something billion, right?
Correct, yes. 344, yes, correct.
And if anybody is telling you that, again, they will tell you that, look, the current economic reality, the issue of forex, the depreciating value of the naira, to pitch what they budgeted now against what happened last year. It's not out of place. That's the argument they'll come up with. You understand what I'm saying? That this budget, could close to the current economic realities of Nigeria. But I'm saying that, look, it's going to be difficult for anybody now to be telling the National Assembly to even bring down its budget when we are getting reports, when one of them is telling us he spent about $500 billion to run election cases, not the entire election, no. So that's why people are saying that, look, our electionary process is even too expensive. We have heavily monetized the entire electionary process. And if you ask me, some of these guys see these things as a form of investment. They need to recoup their investment. Unfortunately, it's supposed to be about service to the people, not a form of investment to make profit from it. It's not a business venture. Governance is not a business. It's not supposed to be a business. But some of these guys, if not a lot of them, or all of them, they see it as a form of business. They need to recoup their investment. And so where would the money come from? So Sarah can say what they want to say, but they will do what they want to do. And I'm sure they will not listen.
SERAP, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, has urged the Senate President and the Speaker of the House, Godswill Akpabio and Tajudeen Abbas, respectively, to reduce the National Assembly budget of 344. I don't know about that. Fuhad, before the budget was passed, or before the House sat on the budget before it was brought to them, it was 200 billion for National Assembly.
It was not even, I think it was about 196 billion. That was the initial suggestion.
Well, 200 billion there, about 196, 200 billion. That was
about
the initial.
Just about 200 billion, but they raised it.
They raised it by themselves. Yes.
They added 1.2 trillion to the budget itself.
Correct. So now,
But you know what, Sandra?
Yes.
It is not even the 340 something that matters. What is that appropriation going?
Thank you. So with the current economic realities in the country, and we've all been talking about everybody tighten your belt. People need to make sacrifices. We need to cut the cost of governance and all of that. 𝗃𝗏 is urging the president to have a fresh look at it. Say, for instance, this 3 billion naira for Senate car park. And this 3 billion naira is just for Senate. There's another 3 billion naira for the House of Reps car park. So both chambers are using 6 billion naira.
6 billion naira
to build car park.
What do they want to do with the car park? Even if it's a multi-level car park, Sandra, because it could be a multi-level or an underground kind of car park. But I know because I'm familiar with real estate construction and all of that, the brick and mortar business. I know what 3 billion can do. Let us even say they want to dig the ground, like 10 floors down, like meters down the ground, or maybe do a multi-level kind of park. And it still doesn't even make sense. So the question we should ask ourselves, Sandra, is that where are they parking their cars now?
I was going to go there because the National Assembly is a complex, all right, and you have they're all on the same plot of land. How many hectares, how many acres? I really don't care at this point. But the fact is that at this moment now, there's somewhere that they are parking their cars, and it is well secured.
So what has happened to where they are parking their cars now?
Why do we need to use the 6 billion naira to build a fresh car park?
Maybe the current car park is not fitting enough for the National Assembly.
Well, we bought cars recently.
So I can't be parking,
so new,
very expensive,
new package. That's it.
So what will be in this new car park? What will be in this new one that this current one does not have?
Security lights.
Sorry?
Security lights.
Security lights.
Yes. Air freshener. More security.
Or maybe it's a car park that really you move your car into it, you just watch the car by itself. You don't even know how it's working.
Automatic, digital. Well, that's amazing. That's an interesting one. Well, this is the National Assembly that is also calling for a 30 billion naira fund request for renovation of the national complex. Well, this is a serious call for concern, and 𝗃𝗏 is just doing what it should. All of these things we always say that maybe the opposition could pick up on these things and use it as a leverage.
The opposition is a beneficiary of it. Do you have any dissenting opinion or voice on this reckless spending?
When the elections were over, I remember we were all jubilating here at Mainland FM that our National Assembly has about 6 to 7 political parties. So these other parties will be able to speak out and say, no, let's not do it that way, let's do it this way. But apparently everybody's receiving tokens and prayers.
No, that's what we have been saying. Everybody seems to be in connivance. There's that conspiracy of silence.
Yes.
There's that conspiracy of silence. Because the reality is that, look, you know what, Sandra? There's a part of budgetary appropriation that we don't even follow. But of course, sometimes we talk about it. At the end of the day, you have these bogus, quote-unquote, ridiculous amounts and projects being appropriated and, of course, getting into our budget. Where we don't even dig into which investigative journalism is supposed to take us to is who are the companies that handle these contracts? Who are the owners of these companies? That's where you really understand what we're talking about. That at the end of the day, that 3 billion naira cap for the Senate and 3 billion for the House of Reps, which company will handle it? Who are the guys that will be in charge? What is the bidding process? What is the track record of those companies? And then who can really put a value to the job that will be done? So, but I think the focus of this story and what I have to say is that, look, it cannot be at this time. It can never be at this time that you are telling Nigerians to tighten their belts, that will be spending money recklessly in this manner. And to think it again, Sandra, that almost 10 trillion of this particular budget would have to borrow.
Well, the story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. We're currently discussing major stories trending on the front pages of our dailies. We have so many other stories to touch. Unfortunately, we spent a lot of time on the front page of the Guardian. Moving on to the Punch newspaper now. 7 major marketers get approval to sell Dangote fuel. And we have riders here: NNPC Retail, Total, MRS, others make list, await commercial term. Excuse me. 𝗵𝗛 to meet Dangote refinery this week are eye marketing deals. So the story is on page 2, and what we have is that 7 major oil marketers have registered with the Dangote Petroleum Refinery for lifting and distribution of refined petroleum products. And now dealers under the aegis of the Major Oil Marketers Association have confirmed this registration. And this is as 𝗵𝗛 also revealed that they will also be meeting with the management of Dangote Refinery this week to discuss terms of product loading. What do you think this would mean, for retail selling in Nigeria, Fuad? Hello?
Hello, Sandra.
Do I come again? Hello? All right. Fuad, we're still here, just in case you can hear us.
I can hear you. Sorry, I can hear you now.
Okay. Do I come again, or did you get that?
Yes, please come again.
Okay. So I'm discussing as regards the fact that major oil marketers, 7 major oil marketers, 11 PLC, Conoil, Ardova, MRS, OVA, Total, NNPC, have secured registration with Dangote Refinery to get for lifting and distribution of fuel from Dangote. We also have independent petroleum marketers also have said that they'll be meeting with the management this week to discuss the terms of product loading and all of that. So what do you think this would mean as regards retail selling, or for Nigerians generally?
Well, we're getting somewhere with Dangote Refinery. At least slow and steady. We are getting somewhere. Now the major marketers have gotten the approval, although independent marketers are also like, why? It doesn't mean the major marketers. We should also be a part of this. The refinery itself has said they're going to start with diesel and jet A1. I think eventually we would have to see a situation where Dangote, at least in the first instance, would concentrate on supplying the local market. The major marketers, maybe some independent marketers who also have the capacity, would also get some supply. But at the end of the day, I think the major interest of Nigerians would be whether this Dangote refinery will have any impact on pricing standard. I'm sure if you ask an average Nigerian out there, Dangote refinery has started working. The first thing that comes to their mind is that, if we are now refining locally, even if it's a private arrangement, would it have any effect on pricing? Is it going to drop it a bit? I think in the first instance, we should even forget about the prices dropping. What we can see, or what we would eventually get, would be some form of stability. At least we'll get some stability in terms of supply. We'll get some stability in terms of pricing, hopefully. And then we can now build from there. We can now build on that achievement. So it's a good one that at least with the Dangote refinery, we are getting somewhere. Maybe we have started the journey of moving away from importation of refined petroleum products. So it's a good one. Let's see how we can build on this success.
Well, as it is now, what we have is that the Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association, that's Petron, the president has said the cost of refined products would drop marginally, but noted that it will be tough to give a specific amount for now. So we're waiting whether or not what exactly the price will be at the end of all of the conversations, because as it is now, it says here that Petron is still interfacing with the Dangote refinery to have a conversation as regards whether or not price will drop and when we would actually start enjoying the result of this alliance. Stories on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. We also have here passengers stranded as BRT drivers down tools, and that story is on page 6 of the Punch newspaper. So very quickly, what we have of that story is that passengers using the Lagos State Bus Rapid Transit were stranded on Sunday as drivers of one of the companies operating the service, that's Primero Transport Services, embarked on a strike over alleged non-payment of their December salary. And there have been a lot of conversations as regards that one. All right. Well, the story is all efforts to reach the managing director of LAMATA, that's Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Mrs. Ajibola Akinjo, were unsuccessful. Efforts to also reach Primero's managing director, Mr. Fola Tinubu, were unsuccessful as well. And we don't know how long the strike was likely to last, as the Primero employees said, and I quote, "The matter may be resolved tomorrow," which is today. "I don't think it will linger for too long." So that is the story, and it's on page 6 of the Punch newspaper.
Hello, Sandra.
Yes.
Sandra, you see, this BLT story is important we talk about, because, again, we come with a very good idea, things that work seamlessly, easily in other places. We get here, it becomes a problem. I remember in one of our Yoruba programs, 𝗪𝗀𝗻, we had in the past interviewed these BLT drivers. They came in, and some of them complained bitterly about the conditions of service. The fact that they are not even officially staff of the Lagos State government to start with. They have no pension benefits. There are no hazard allowances. Their salaries are prorated, very poor. I think from the government, there's a particular amount that is released, and then what gets to them is not the exact amount that is paid by the government. You understand what I'm saying? And at that time, what we tried to highlight, what we highlighted at that time, was the fact that, look, these are guys who handle a delicate job. They carry people around the city. If they are not happy to the point where they are psychologically fit to do the job, that means we are putting the lives of people at risk. And if you look at BLT, the so-called BLT service in Lagos, the buses are not well maintained. The BLT track, even though my mind tells me that it's the government that helps them to maintain the track. I remember on this Ikorodu stretch, when Primero was going to take over this Ikorodu stretch of the BLT service, the Lagos State government bought about 800 brand new buses. Government donated buses to a private company. Where are the buses today? How well has Primero, how well have they done with the running of the BLT service on the Ikorodu lane, the Ikorodu stretch? The reality is that the company is either does not have the capacity to run that business or have a problem somewhere.
All right.
You can see that even the papers are not even able to get the MD of the company, because what we hear is that it's never available. So it's either we take this thing away from Primero and give it to people that can do it properly. How can running a BLT service be a problem that you can't even pay drivers, or you're not even paying them well? You can't maintain buses and do the right thing. What's the big deal about running a BLT service?
All right, thank you very much, Fuad. The story is on page 6. Finally, above the masthead of the Punch, we also have here Tinubu's trips gob 3.6, and that's coming from Lagos for 7